Hello, Zach Jonas here for exam 4. So gonna get into it here, so I don't go over my time. So first question: what is the sin or public embarrassment of a patent, and why are we as a nation not willing to suffer it? So the sin or embarrassment of a patent is that a patent creates a monopoly. So you have a novel idea, you patent it, and then it's unable to be used by anybody else for 20 years. So basically, you've created a monopoly for the next 20 years for whatever new invention or idea or process has been created. So it creates a monopoly. It does gives you an incentive to invent things. It's kind of a quid pro quo. You invent something, you bring a new invention to the marketplace or a new idea. So you're giving this idea or invention, and in return, you're receiving that patent that gives you that monopoly for 20 years. My second question: Coca-Cola has told waitresses at restaurants not to serve or offer other colas when a customer asks for a Coke. What is the reason for this policy? What other companies run similar risks, and what policies might they create to protect themselves? So Coke has a lot of competitors. People are trying to copy their formula because it's so popular. So a lot of other companies are trying to reverse engineer Coke to make a similar product. And there's all types of different sodas out there, all pretty similar in terms of Coca-Cola. And so they can protect themselves by filing for a patent. Obviously, protecting that information, protecting their trade secrets. First, you have to identify your trade secrets in order to protect them. And then internal regulations. Make sure that you don't expose your secrets to anyone. Internally, make sure that your employees are being confidential with the information. Make sure they're not releasing any information. You can even restrict them from releasing information. So basically, you want to protect yourselves from being reverse engineered and competitors making a similar product. So that's why when someone asks for a Coke, you make sure to give them a Coke and not another one where it's reverse engineered. Then somebody can develop a taste for that and a preference for a different product. 3, explain the need to prove likelihood of confusion in a trademark misappropriation case. So is the average consumer likely to confuse a trademark with a trademark with a brand with an already established trademark? So the example Professor Reeder gave was Kraft cheese with their Cracker Barrel cheese versus Cracker Barrel the restaurant. And you don't want to make Kraft was I guess being sued because they were infringing on Cracker Barrel's trademark with their cheese, but it was actually ruled that they was not close enough to be likely confused. But you don't want to get your trademark get so close in your signage and your whatever you may be representing to another trademark where it can be likely confused by the average customer, because then you are misappropriating the trademark. 4, how has big tech invaded this next generation's privacy beyond anything we've ever seen? What can be done to protect the next generation and preserve privacy in America? So big tech wants to, it has ways to collect your data all over the place, social media. As Professor Reeder mentioned, Alexa it starts collecting data as soon as it's turned on. So when you're just around near it talking, it'll collect your data, and they want to sell it to third parties, the information, so that they can market to you according to what your interest may be. So it's big business. They want to get as much data as possible on you, whatever outlets they can, in order to sell it, make money. And sell your private information to all these different third parties. We need to not rely on self-regulation by big tech, because they're not going to self-regulate. We need to establish actual regulations in regards to data collection, consent. You can opt in or out of the data that is collected, have it included or removed. So we need to stand up for actual regulation and our rights in regards to our data, and establish consent, and then establish our actions we can take in regards to the collection of data and what can be used for, and its removal if necessary. Why do we have higher standards for protecting privacy in regard to HIPAA and COPA. So it's more sensitive information. So we have higher standards because it is more sensitive for HIPAA. That's your private health information, and people try and steal it so that they can then hold facilities ransom. Even Professor Reeder was explaining. I do medical billing, so HIPAA is a big thing with us. We have to be very careful not to expose people's private health information, and you can get in trouble for it. So we have to encrypt a lot of things, and make sure that we're not sending information somewhere that's vulnerable. COPA is for children, so protected information in regards to children. Children aren't old enough to consent to their information being taken, to being their information being harvested, for them being targeted for certain ads and things. They're not old enough to consent to that. They're not, their guardians aren't consenting to it. So it's more private information, and also more sensitive information when it comes to children and health information. Number 6, a group of recent DBU grads decides to start an ice cream shop in Waxahachie. They want to pray for each customers, and they want to hire Christian employees. Are they allowed to do that? Yes. Title VII applies to employers with 15 or more employees for discrimination. But regardless of that, you could still discriminate in regards to religion. There is the BFOQ's bona fide occupational qualifications. So if you're a Christian company and you want to hire Christians in your Christian company, or if you're specifically, that's one of the job requirements is, to spread the word of Christianity, then it is allowed to, specifically hire Christian employees. If you're one of your main purposes of your job is to spread Christianity, you're not going to, necessarily hire someone who's not a Christian, because they wouldn't have the qualifications in order to spread the Christianity, which is one of the purposes of your business. Number 7, for more than 50 years with the goal of being above reproach, Billy Graham chose to treat men and women differently. Was he at risk of violating the Civil Rights Act? Billy Graham was not at risk of violating the Civil Rights Act. He can choose to treat people differently. That's his own personal bias. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I may choose to treat believers and non-believers differently. Not treat them differently, but the way you interact with them, you could do differently. And so you can operate in regards to your religion and have different ways of treating people, because of your beliefs, and you're not violating the Civil Rights Act. And finally, number 8, according to the U.S. government, there are 2 ethnicities and 5 races. Do you agree? No, I do not at all. They try and say through the Department of Education, first, are you Hispanic or not Hispanic, as the 2 ethnicities, and then you can choose from 5 races: white, black, Asian, and then Pacific Islander, and I can't remember the last one, but no, I think Professor Reeder mentioned there's something like 16,000 ethnicities, maybe more. I definitely ascribe to that type of thinking. I think a lot of people nowadays, the world's so interconnected, a lot of people are multiple races, so really to choose one really doesn't make a lot of sense for most people anyway. So I definitely do not agree. I believe there's many races, and we should judge people according to their merits and according to their belief in God, rather than what the government thinks: 2 ethnicities and 5 races. That is all my questions. Thank you.